Learning to code has got to be one of the scariest things I can probably think of. It's got to be up there with either public speaking or using the bathroom only to realize you've run out of toilet tissue and there's no one around to help you. Now, in this video, I'm going to walk you through how I overcame my fear of learning to code. And my hope is that when you listen to my story, it'll empower you to overcome your fear and start learning to code. Now, if you're new here, I'm Greg, the creator of Thoughtful Techie Cloud. And each week I create a video to help you navigate your AWS cloud and tech journey. If you haven't already, definitely need to subscribe right now. Now, I'm going to walk you through where my fear to learn to code was developed, right? Because fear comes from somewhere. So before I could actually overcome my fear, I had to figure out where did it come from. So I'll walk you all the way back when I was in college. I took a C++ class, and it wasn't just the fact that I took a C++ class. I took this course in combination with a whole bunch of other complicated subjects that semester, some of which were completely unrelated to coding altogether. So in looking back on this in hindsight, we have C++, which for me was very difficult in and of itself at the time. Also, I had a full load of other classes in computer engineering stacked all together. And long story short, I didn't have the time to dedicate to that C++ programming class like I needed to dedicate. And what happened to me is I didn't do nowhere near as good as I wanted to in that class. And from that point on, I developed a narrative in my mind that I would just repeat. And it would vary depending on, how the memory would come up. It would be, I'm not fit to code. Coding isn't for me. There's a lot of things I can do, but coding is just not what I'm cut out for. And if you repeat that narrative long enough, it becomes a story. And that story can last with you literally for years and years and years, because our stories become part of who we are. And because that story had become so pervasive in my life, I went to great lengths not to need to know how to code. I even pursued infrastructure path when I first started my career. So I started off with help desk, desktop support. Then I went into network administration. Then I went into sysadmin. And in these roles, you do some scripting and stuff, but you never had to do any hardcore coding. Fast forward to my time at AWS, when I'm speaking with developers and working on proof of concepts and demos, it became very clear the value of learning to code is tremendous. Sure, you don't need to learn how to code to be a software engineer, but it's still going to be helpful in building prototypes. It's still going to help you in building demos. Knowing how to code is going to increase the quality of the conversations that you're having with developers. And in the age we live in now, even with AI, if AI spits out some code, if you don't know how to code, it means you also probably don't know how to read the code. So you can't even understand if the code that the AI is spitting out, is it even any good? So I think we can both agree that the value of learning to code is tremendous. Then how did I overcome my fear? All right, there's a lot of coding languages out there. And the one that I'm going to suggest for you, which really answered my prayers, literally, was Python. Python was invented to be straightforward, and it's almost like when you understand Python and you're looking at the code, once you understand the syntax that's very unique to it, you can read it almost like English. Now, it's not like words on a paper, word for word. You're still going to have to learn, the fundamentals to be able to read what's on that development environment. But it's super straightforward. And when I found this coding language, I was like, finally, something that I can understand, something that doesn't have a whole bunch of brackets and semicolons and all this other crazy stuff. Now, Python, like any other coding language, can be challenging. And I'm not saying that it's not, but I found it a lot more straightforward. Now, even though Python was straightforward, I noticed that when I sat down to do my lessons, that story that had been baked in my head, even from my college days, kept coming up on loop over and over and over again. And, I got to the point where I'm like, I just said, you know what? I need to develop a new story. How can I take something that happened like, what is it now? 2 decades ago, beyond 2 decades ago, and let it hold me back now? It just didn't make sense. I mean, what's going to happen? I'm sitting down learning how to code, like a saber-toothed tiger is not going to rip my head off, right? It's just learning to code. So I found a way, rather than magnifying learning to code into this big, scary monster, try to minimize it. Rather than me minimizing myself, saying, oh, I can't learn the code, I'm not good enough, I'm good at a lot of things, but coding just isn't for me. I found a way, let's minimize the difficulty of learning the code, and let's maximize myself, saying things like, you know what, I'm learning, anything that I put my mind to, I can get with the right training material, I'm going to get this. And I just spoke life literally into myself. And that's exactly what you need to do. And also, speaking of training materials, I'm going to recommend 2 training resources that you can take a look at. There are a ton of resources out there. These are certainly not the only 2. There's a lot of other good stuff out there, but I don't want to overwhelm you in what you could take a look at. Now, what I am using right now is a course that Harvard literally puts on for their computer science students that want to learn Python. And the name of that course, and don't worry, I'll pop that up here on the screen so you can see it, and I'll put a link to it in the description below. It's called CS50P. This is a computer science for Python by Harvard. There is an incredible professor that teaches this. The lectures are recorded. You get to look at all the lectures. Each lecture has a set of projects. They typically range from 4 to 5 projects per lecture that will reinforce what it is you're learning in the lecture. And oh yeah, by the way, in the lecture, you get to follow along with the code, and I highly recommend that you are writing the code and pausing the videos and understanding it so that you can comprehend it, learn those fundamentals, and then be better equipped to do those projects which align to the lecture. The other resource that I'm going to recommend is a book called Python Crash Course, 3rd edition. This is an extremely popular book for Python. Apparently, over 1.5 million people have gotten this book and it's benefited them, and I'm sure that it can benefit you as well. I was in the bookstore recently and I discovered it, and I was just flipping through it and just kind of comparing it to some of the things I've already learned, and it's definitely solid, and it takes a hands-on approach. I'll give you some more tips here also. I'm still continuously broadening my ability to code in the Python language, but I'll tell you, just on the journey that I've taken so far, you learn fundamentals. So you learn what variables are, you learn data types, You learn about Python dictionaries and tuples and the lists and all these different things and functions. And there's a whole lot more stuff. And as you learn about these concepts individually, then you combine these fundamental concepts and they become building blocks in the projects. And when you start building the projects, that's when this stuff really comes together. And when I'm doing the lectures and I'm doing the assignments, there are often times where, I'll get stuck on something, and I take that as an opportunity to do some research. Sometimes I get stuck for 5 minutes. Sometimes I get stuck for an hour. Sometimes I get stuck so long that I just need to walk away from the laptop, and sometimes come back to it the next day completely and just recharge. But one thing I wanted to share with you is just lose that negative story, because that story is linked to your fear. I promise you, if you can use the tips that I've provided in this video and just stick with this consistency and learn Python, it's really going to boost your confidence like tremendously. And even if your goal is not to become a software engineer, my goal is not to become a software engineer, but the value that you're going to be able to bring once you know these skills, the confidence that you're going to have when you have a coding language up under your belt, it's just going to be through the roof. So don't let fear bother you. Take a look at those resources that I have mentioned and let me know in the comments if you're ready to commit to learning Python. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.